up, people? How you doing? So change of plans since we had some developments in regard to what's been going down politically in this country. We're going to be doing a special. First of all, welcome everybody to Wednesday. I appreciate those who are tuning in, who will be watching this live, and who will be watching this later on after it's been recorded. But today we were supposed to have part two of our discussion concerning basically the history of racism in Greensboro and whatnot. But a couple things happened. One is my co-host Lee is under the weather today, so shout out to Lee in the DLF, and hope you're feeling better for next week. So we won't have him with us tonight on camera, but I'm pretty sure he'll be tuning in. So we may get a chat or two. So that was the first thing, that caused me to have to switch it up because Lee was basically leading that. And then the second thing is we have impeachment going on now. Well, technically, it has not happened officially yet. So I am kind of counting my chickens before they hatch. However, impeachment is not something, as we are going to go over later on, it's not something that hinges upon the Republicans actually assisting in doing so. All we need to have is basically a majority in the House. We have that. We have the votes. And basically articles of impeachment need to be brought to the floor, at which point they will be voted upon and sent to the Senate, where more often than not, Mitch McConnell is probably going to shut shit down, and we won't have anything, we won't have an actual impeachment trial, but he will still have been officially impeached by the House of Representatives, which is more than what we've had going on thus far. And that was the biggest concern that I had in regard to impeachment, because if we're talking about impeaching Bill Clinton over receiving oral sex in the Oval Office, and then lying about it on the stand, what we've seen happen with this administration is way more egregious than that, way more extreme than that. And so, and not just one incident, we have multiple incidents. Right now, we still have Attorney General Barr, who was found in contempt of Congress, who's just walking around free. So basically, and then we also have a bunch of people who have just basically said, "Fuck your subpoenas. I'm not coming in. I don't have to talk to Congress. The president gave me this nice letter and told me, I don't have to show up or I don't have to answer these questions." A subpoena is going to be a lot harder to stonewall now that we're in impeachment mode. The laws have changed, and as long as the Democrats stick to their guns and decide that they're going to go forward in regard to investigating and using all investigatory powers, using all punitive powers that they possibly can to find people in inherent contempt. Well, I'll talk about inherent contempt versus criminal contempt later on in the roadblocks in regard to that. But as long as they use all their investigatory powers, we're in a position now where we at least can start to get some names. The misnomer, well, not the misnomer, but the misconception about impeachment, or the failure of impeachment at this stage of the game is basically that we're out to get rid of the president. Ideally, in a perfect world, that would be great. That would be beautiful if we could just say, you know what, we impeach him, he's gone. But we recognize that Mitch McConnell and a number of members in the Senate, because that's the thing that people don't like to acknowledge. That's the thing that people don't face, and it gets lost in the sauce. Is the fact that Trump is not there by himself. He's indicative of a much larger, deep-seated problem that we have in this country in regard to the influence of money in our politics. Basically, you have a lot of individuals who've been bought. We don't know directly who they've been bought by. We can look at legislation and assume based off of certain indicators, who people belong to based off of their votes. But other than that, we don't have. It's not like NASCAR. We don't have people walking around with decals of the companies that they represent. So that being said, the only way for us to begin to identify who is behind what's going on in this country, the only way for us to identify who is responsible for stonewalling and blockading, the removal of one of the most corrupt administrations in my lifetime. People are saying, this guy makes Nixon look like a choir boy, and I would have to agree with that. But the only way we can get to the bottom of that is beginning to put people on record. Right now, we've had people be able to hide behind, oh, we can't do anything because, Mitch McConnell, is holding stuff up. Oh, we'd impeach, but, it's not a good time, for us to do so for insert reason here. Now we can at least start to get people on record, because one thing about impeachment is that impeachment is not a one-time thing. Somebody can be impeached, because it's not just it's not just the president, but any federal official. If you commit an impeachable offense, and that's determined by Congress. But if you commit an impeachable offense, you can be impeached for that offense, and then later on down the line, if you commit another impeachable offense, it's not a double jeopardy thing where you can only be impeached one time. You can be impeached as many times as you need to be impeached. And we have a number of impeachable offenses beyond this one phone call that we're going to get into right now. This one phone call is basically just going to open up the floodgates for more investigations behind that phone call. So we're going to get a bunch of things that have been held back from us, a bunch of documents that have been redacted, Congress can require as part of this official inquiry that Nancy Pelosi just announced. But then we can also figure out, it's like a sweater. You start pulling one thread, people get leaned on, we get more and more information. Some of the stuff we may not get publicly because it could still be classified. For instance, no one has seen the entire unredacted Mueller report except for certain members of Congress. For those people who did read the Mueller report, there were huge redacted sections in there because we still have outstanding criminal cases, and those criminal cases are still being prosecuted. So for those people who stated that the Mueller report is over, that it was a hoax, that basically, we didn't get, it was a nothing burger. No, that nothing burger has yielded numerous court cases that are still being investigated at the federal and state level. And now we have another federal crime where we have basically outright bribery because as a result of not prosecuting this. This could have been the long game. This could have been the long con, basically, where we didn't prosecute anybody after the Mueller report. We didn't impeach anybody after the Mueller report to give basically Trump and company a false sense of confidence that we got away with this shit. We can do this shit again. And they got comfortable and they got brazen, because that's what happens whenever you don't punish a criminal for criminal wrongdoing. The first time, eventually they relax. They think they're untouchable, and at some point they make a very, very blatant mistake that can't be covered up. In this case, we have Trump dead to rights on the phone call. And basically a whistleblower who has gone unnamed up to this point. He's already being slandered by the right, even though we haven't heard him or her. It could be a her. We don't know who this person is. They're being slandered as being partisan. They're being slandered as, being, somebody who's just basically speaking off of hearsay. They're being slandered as somebody who, is treasonous because they released this information. This information, was also just released today by Trump, the 5-page summary of it that was redacted that basically, illustrated what had been said, that he'd basically made a promise to individuals in the Ukraine that, if, you do this for me, I'll do this for you. In addition, we recognize that there was federal funding that was given to the Ukraine to assist them in regard to fighting back against, the Russian occupation that took place, that Trump pretty much forgot about, once he came in the office, even though, he shit on Obama all day long and basically said, this happened under Obama's watch, basically Ukraine was taken, and Obama didn't do anything about it. Basically, we gave them money to assist, and Trump froze that money while he had these conversations, basically requesting that the Ukraine look into, a business dealing with Joe Biden's son that happened, some years ago, before he was even in office. So how this is an issue of national security that suddenly appears right now at this point where Trump is being, accused of, impropriety on a, national level right before election season, right before his political rival, that is stated to be the biggest contender that he has, the biggest opposition that he has. It comes to light. It's quite convenient, to say the least. The fact that this is at the forefront of prominence. So, that being said, I do want to talk a little bit about impeachment, but we're going to have a little bit of story time before, so we can kind of, frame, where we are right now. So let me go to my desktop here, and I'm going to give the Republicans, the first word on this. So we're going to start off with Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. I was about to say Mitch McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy discussing basically this travesty of justice and politics and this waste of time that is impeachment. And then we're going to talk a little bit about why it's bullshit.
Normally, in a normal Congress, we come here and we talk to you about what's going to be on the floor. What legislation is passing through committee. What problem that we're going to solve. Our ability to work together. But let's see the facts of this Congress. Democrats have voted 3 times to impeach the president. Twice they voted before the Mueller report even had one word public. I just watched the speaker yesterday demean the office of the speakership. I understand members when they want to be political, but the power of the speaker is a much different place to be. I listened to the speaker claim that the president violated the law based on nothing that she had read, based upon a whistleblower that wasn't even listening to a conversation, with an IG saying that the whistleblower has political bias. I listened to Nancy Pelosi, the speaker, promise the American public if they trusted the
let me run that back again.
Democrats with the majority, that they would be different. That they'd be different this time. That they'd work to solve problems. At the same time, I watched Congressman Nadler run for a chairmanship of Judiciary. He promised his conference that he would impeach the president.
I'm sorry, can we just pause for 1 second and look at Jim Jordan's face like he's looking at Jesus giving a sermon right now? Like, what the fuck is up with... Okay, all right, I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
Democrats lied to the American public. But Chairman Nadler kept his promise to the Democratic conference. Make no mistake, yesterday was a dark day for America. It was a dark day for the rule of law that the Speaker of the House would claim a president violated the law without ever having any...
Yes, Kamiko, he's literally saying nothing.
...to judge it on. It was a dark day for...
Now, I do want to pause this for a second. I want to talk about something. So note that he's framed this discussion primarily around the whistleblower who basically came up with this accusation. Now, first of all, today Trump released the transcript and whatnot of the call and basically said there was nothing. There was nothing, that was indecent about the call that was had. That was a very, very friendly call that, people were surprised by how friendly he was in it. But at the same time, this whistleblower has created this egregious offense to the nation. And it's a dark day because Nancy Pelosi stepped up and, basically demeaned and degraded her office, by making judgment about, this whistleblower's statement. This is a misrepresentation of basically what happened. Now, first of all, I need y'all to understand what happens. I'm playing this off of C-SPAN so you can see it in its entirety. But if you watch a lot of C-SPAN, this is one of the main problems with the polarization of our country. if you watch a lot of C-SPAN, these individuals are not talking to America necessarily. These things, these press conferences are designed for specific sound bites. And yes, he did snitch on himself, Kamiko. These press conferences are designed for very specific sound bites that are designed to basically be parsed out and then put onto Breitbart, to put onto Fox News, in these very, very small segments that are used as, to coin or to paraphrase what was said a long time ago, gotcha moments, if you will. And these gotcha moments are regurgitated over and over again, to people as basically propaganda. That's all they're speaking right now is propaganda. They are not talking to the entire American public. They're talking about to the America that they represent. So basically, if they lie right now, no one's going to be there to check them. No one's going to call them on it. But that's part of the reason why I play this stuff for you, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about in regard to the lies that are being framed. Pelosi's reaction was not to the phone call itself. This whole narrative that the right is using is framed around this one particular phone call. And it's framed around this phone call with the intent that we're just going to focus on this one phone call. And we're going to lose sight of the fact that this phone call was part of the context. Whenever you're talking about proof, you're talking about content and context, okay? This phone call was part of the context that was presented in the entire whistleblower report, which we have not seen yet. And that's the one thing they want you to focus on. Look at the birdie over here. Look at this phone call that took place over here. There's nothing going wrong with this phone call. They just talked about Biden 8 times, and there was only this offer or the suggestion that you should help us out. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. If you're trying to get help later on. As a matter of fact, I do have that up here. Let's hop over to that really quick. And yes, I'm on CNN, but the fact is I'm on CNN and I'm basically citing the actual document. For those people who are all like, oh no, he went to fake news, he went to CNN, fuck you, I'm not really worried about that. We're going for content, so I was just looking for the content right here. And I'm just going to read the quote. So regardless of whether or not you're on Fox News, whether you're on CNN, whether you're on MSNBC, whether you're on Breitbart, these are the words from the fucking man. Okay? So let's ignore the platform, let's get over our CNN phobia, and let's look exactly what was said, okay? So, Trump, after congratulating Zelensky on his win, very quickly establishes that the United States has been very, very good to the Ukraine. So, Zelensky is the new president of the Ukraine, basically. I will say that we do a lot for Ukraine. We spend a lot of effort, a lot of time, much more than the European countries who are doing, and they should be helping you more than they are. So this is Trump buttering up the Ukraine, basically saying, look, America's been your friend, I'm your friend, I got your back, just, letting you know. I'm sliding your DMs right now, just letting you know, we out here, we got you, all right? So then, he then makes it clear that the U.S. does a lot more for the Ukraine than the Ukraine does for the U.S. I wouldn't say that it's reciprocal necessarily because things are happening that are not good, but the United States has been very, very good to the Ukraine. So he's setting up the relationship. Yo, we got this relationship, but you know what? You're not doing as much as you could be to help us out. All right? So we're laying this bedrock here that we're about to build this foundation of this whole house of bullshit upon. All right. So then, right after that, comes the proposition, or not the proposition, but the ask, because that's all part of quid pro quo. You do something for me, I'm gonna do something for you. So here's, the quid. There's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution, and a lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you can do with the Attorney General would be great. The Attorney General, Matt fucking Barr. Barr is not part of an official representative of our government. That's not what for the president itself, all right? So basically, he's basically using Barr as an intermediary for his own personal shit. Barr is supposed to be basically dealing with shit domestically in this country. Now, if we're talking about a setup where, something was done, currently, then we would talk about, maybe there's some grounds for investigation here. All right. But what is also not mentioned is the fact that this was already laid to rest by the Ukraine some years ago. So with this being the case, what the fuck are we doing talking about Barr investigating a dead case right now? How does that have to do with, what does that have to do with national security? Why now? Why not? Why is it so important in this moment? Because again, recognize this happened some years ago. As a matter of fact, let's pull up the receipts. In January 2017, Burisma issued a statement saying that all legal proceedings and pending criminal allegations against Zlochevsky and the company were closed, and that it agreed to make up any unpaid taxes if found deficient. All right. So this was the business dealing that basically Joe Biden's son was supposed to be involved with. Well, he was involved in, way back. So we're talking about 2017. This was settled. We are now in 2019, for those people who are aware of how time works. We're in 2019. So basically, Trump came into office in 2016, all right? 16, 17, 18, 19, all right? So at that point, if there was any indiscretion, if there was any impropriety that could be investigated, whenever the Republicans had control over the House, when Republicans have control over the Senate, when Republicans had control over the judiciary, they could have investigated this shit. They could have made this priority number one. They could have said, you know what, we're going after this guy right here, right now. They could have gone after Obama. They could have gone after Hillary. They could have gone after a bunch of people, but they didn't. Why? Because the Republicans needed that boogeyman to continue to rally their base, to scare their base. They needed to prioritize, getting rid of Obamacare and all these other boogeymen and building the wall and all this other bullshit that they needed to get their base motivated, to consolidate them for this fascist coup that's taking place right now. They got to feel perpetually that they're under fucking attack. All right? So that's what they focused on. That was their priority, was basically scaring the shit out of their base and making them feel that you've got to do whatever you can so we can hold office. Now, the problem is they failed because come 2019, suddenly they've lost, 2018, they lost the House. And so now no longer can they force through anything. I mean, this is a great reason why we got the House. Because if we didn't have the House, they could basically be playing this game right now, and nobody would stop them. So this is a good reason why our vote was so important, a good reason why we were able to, a good reason for us to take the House back. Because if we had not taken that House back, the level of fuckery we would be dealing with right now would be exponentially worse. But it's not. We're in a good place right now where we at least can begin to unravel what is going on in our government and figure out how deep this rabbit hole goes. All right? So, anyway, I digress. They could have solved this shit back whenever Trump took office, when they had the majority in all branches of government, from the judicial all the way, the judicial branch all the way to the executive, to the legislative. But they didn't do it. They didn't. Now, suddenly, whenever we're looking at this phone call, when we're looking at impeachment, because trust and believe, they knew this shit was coming down the pipe. Because one thing that I watch a bunch of different things. I watch a bunch of C-SPAN. I watch way more C-SPAN than I'd like to. I watch a bunch of C-SPAN, but I also go into these groups where, fascists tend to congregate with the racists and the Klan members. And people are like, Brennan, why do you do that? That's crazy. Why are you exposing yourself to all that negative energy? Those are my airy-fairy hipster friends. My more practical friends are like, it's a waste of time. You're just on there arguing with the internet. Nobody wins an internet fight or an internet argument. There's just two people arguing, just being stupid. There's a reason. There's a method to my madness. One is it brings more people to the yard. There's more people who are participating, more people having conversations, and people like a good fight. So, I go in and, I get into it. I wrestle around with the fascists and whatnot. But one thing that I get from those exchanges, beyond, being called libtard 5,000 times, is how they are collectively thinking. Because this is not something that's just operating from the top down, but from the ground up. Because their talking points are being distributed via memes, via Fox News. And so I get to see exactly how this programming is having an effect, how this communication, because I'm an instructor of communications, that's what my background is in, that's what my undergraduate degree is in from Winston-Salem State, and then my graduate degree is in film and video production. So as far as basically telling messages with images, this is why I love memes, this is why, I like to see exactly how people are getting messages out. That's my strength, that's my background. And so it's very, very interesting to see how propaganda takes hold and the kinds of messages that are happening at different levels when it comes to, these individuals who are absorbing this knowledge, right? So one thing that I get to see is what propaganda rolls out and how it rolls out. Well, first, one thing that I noticed is there's a pattern, all right? As breaking news happens, these individuals aren't thinking on their feet. Some of them are smarter and they may, devolve into, some of their old statistics and facts in regard to if something racial happens, for instance, I notice fascists are very, very, adept. They're quick with it when it comes to race. They know statistics of how many black people killed people in Chicago, how many, white people are murdered, by minorities around the country. They know these things, like they know their fucking birth dates, all right? But whenever something happens that's political, that requires a little bit more research, a little bit more time, a little bit more background, a little bit more knowledge about the levels of our government and whatnot, a lot of them just fall silent. They go quiet. They may shitpost a couple memes, about Obama being a monkey or some other crazy random shit, some generic libtard bashing meme or whatever. But for the most part, they don't comment on what's going on because some of them are smart enough to know that they don't know what they don't know and they're tired of looking stupid. And that's a lot better than it used to be. Like back in the day, back around 2016, 2017 or whatever, they would just spew out statistics and facts left and right, just pull them out their ass. But that's one reason why I know that they know that they're wrong now. Because what they do now is they wait. They wait for Fox News, they wait for Breitbart, they wait for all of their messengers to give them the messaging that they're going to be using in order to refute what's going on. All right? And so what I'm noticing now is, what I noticed with this situation is basically they didn't comment whenever Trump came out and he admitted in regard to, having this conversation, because Trump is great for that. One thing he will always do is fucking, as soon as, people give him cover, he will go out and just blow that fucking cover up and just outright admit he did whatever he's being accused of doing. I don't understand how fascists have the stamina to continue to support him and pretend like he's telling the truth whenever he's obviously lying, and then he comes out and basically says, you know what, I did do that shit, and so what? So basically they were quiet, and then whenever Trump came out and blew his spot up or whatever, they've continued to be quiet. They haven't come out and said anything. But what they are doing, and the messaging that seems to be coming out from the ground up, is basically protect the president at all costs. And this is kind of disturbing to me, but that's basically what's coming out. Even the new slogan that's coming out, Trump 2020, no more bullshit. That means something in regard to messaging. You don't say, if I'm having a conversation with you, if we've had disagreements, if we've had any problems, I'm not going to come to you and say, you know what, we fought last night, and today, no more bullshit. That's not something that sounds very amenable. That's not a stance that's used whenever you're trying to make peace with somebody. That's not a phrasing or turn of phrase that's used whenever you're trying to be amicable at this point. That is a phrase of confrontation. That is a phrase of, we're going to put the gloves on and we're going at it. I'm done with this shit. No more bullshit. So it's very, very aggressive, first and foremost. Then you start seeing these memes that are circulated that are basically, we're with you, Mr. President, no matter what. Millions of us are going to rise up. So the rhetoric is starting to be, this is that stochastic terrorism that we talked about in regard to fascism. We see that rhetoric being pumped out there. That nudge, nudge, wink, wink. They're trying to get our president. If they get our president, we need to do something. We better do something. We need to do something. Now, what that something is remains ambiguous, but it's left up to you to figure out, what that something is. Maybe it's, go out and, shoot that person who's running their mouth on YouTube, or, go and attack the free press, or, do something, something. It's not, but it's not protesting. I know that much, because you don't ever see them at protests. I was at the climate strike rally this past week, and there was no, this past Friday. I didn't see any Trump supporters out there. The overwhelming argument that I received online was basically that they're not going to be out there for something fake. But this is apparently very, very real. What's going on, this attack on the presidency, is very, very real. And it's reinforced by Kevin McCarthy and the other individuals of his ilk, as they are trying to scare the absolute fuck out of people and make them believe that, we've entered a dark day. It's a dark time. It's terrible. Nancy Pelosi is reckless. She's lawless. There's even suggestion that we get rid of her. Here we go. Let's continue.
National security. That you were willing to jeopardize the national security of our country today and in the future because of your own political bias. Name me one world leader, regardless of who sits in the Oval Office, of how honest of a conversation they are going to have, if they're fearful that the transcripts are going to become public to the world. It was a dark day for the rule of law. That a president's going to be held guilty without any proof in the process. It's a dark day for the rule of law when we watch a former vice president tell the public that he did quid pro quo. That he told another country that he would hold up $1 billion if they would not fire a prosecutor that was looking to his own son that he flew on an Air Force Two. That if they did not fire them in 6 hours, he was leaving. It is a dark day for the Congress, for the actions of this speaker.
Now again, this did not happen in 2019. This didn't happen in 2018. This didn't happen in 2017, supposedly. This was already investigated, already litigated in the Ukraine. Already settled. And now we need to reinvestigate. We need to reopen this case. What in the fuck? Why are we going to another country and saying, hey, reopen this case? Why is the president of the United States doing this? Why is this happening against a private citizen? This is not somebody who holds office. This is a private citizen, Joe Biden's son. Why are we doing this in 2019?
But more importantly, for the action of this majority party. They promised the American public they would be different. But USMCA is not coming to the floor. They promised the American public that they'd work together. But when we have a bipartisan prescription drug bill, we put a poison pill so it can't become law. They promised the American public that they'd protect them. But they will not improve the immigration system of America to solve the problem. They promised they would be different, and they have not. I'm not speaking to you as a Republican leader. I'm speaking to you as an American.
Oh, here we go.
That's disgusted
Yep.
by what has taken place by the Speaker of the House and the action of this majority party, who's only driven because they did not like the outcome of a 2016 election. It is time to put people before politics. It is time to run by the rule of law. It is time to uphold. But you look at evidence before you judge whether somebody is guilty. And you know what? It is time to stop putting the American public through this nightmare.
Okay, so let's talk about impeachment real quick, because I want to use this as a segue into impeachment. So basically, this motherfucker's acting like we have already convicted Trump. That hasn't happened. I mean, impeachment has to happen first. So if you're talking about the rule of law, then basically, if we find that he's basically committed an impeachable offense, and the first thing that needs to fucking happen is we need to investigate that offense. That would be the rule of law. That would be following the rule of law. Obeying subpoenas. That would be following the rule of law. Okay? But you don't hear anything from them in regard to this shit whenever, people are basically saying, yeah, I'm going to come, but I'm not going to talk. That's not following the rule of law. All right? Being held in contempt is not following, and then not, being incarcerated, criminal contempt or whatever, or contempt of Congress, and not being incarcerated, you're not following the rule of law. There's a legislative body that is conducting actual legislation, that is actually committing and doing, taking steps toward investigating something that is of national security, that is of national importance, and you're refusing to investigate it, you're refusing to comply, you're refusing to participate, you're refusing to listen to subpoenas. There's a problem with that. That's not following the rule of law. So this party of law and order is basically pretending, once again, that, we're the victims. We have been beset upon. America is under attack. There's your nationalism coming into play right now. That nationalism that's indicative of fascism. That nationalism that's also being tied in with the invisible enemy. These individuals who are investigating just this situation, if there's nothing to hide, why the fuck are you all stopping and stonewalling and roadblocking and obstructing everything you possibly fucking can to find nothing? Let all the chips be where they may. You all told us. Let's talk about this. Republicans said, left and right, hey, you impeach the president, he's guaranteed to win in 2020. MAGA, all right, bitches, we're impeaching him. So let that happen. Why is this the worst thing that's happening? You told us this was the best thing that could happen for Trump. Suddenly today, it's the worst. It's the darkest day in America. The darkest day.
How many more months will we have to investigate? How many more millions will we have to spend to prove that they are wrong and the election is over? I know they are better than this. I'm just asking that they act like it. Yes, sir.
You talked a lot about constitutional violations. I wanted to ask if you could respond specifically to what Speaker Pelosi said yesterday when she cited what she believes is a violation. And I'll just quote from her, from the transcript. She said, "The president has admitted to asking the president of Ukraine to take actions which would benefit him politically. The actions of the Trump presidency revealed dishonorable facts of betrayal of his oath of office, betrayal of national security, betrayal of integrity of our elections." So I guess two things to focus on there. They're pointing out what he
The
said.
president did not say he did that. You
Yes.
have not read the transcripts.
Yeah.
And what is being said about the transcripts, let's think what the Democrats are saying. They are claiming that the president did a quid pro quo. They're claiming that the president brought up Biden 8 different times when no one has read this transcript. And the Speaker of the House, the individual who's in line to be president if something happens to the president or the vice president, claims there's a violation of the law based upon a whistleblower of facts that she never read and a whistleblower that was not even on the phone call. Now the President of the United States is being put in a position that no other president in the history of this country has to do. That he is going to release a transcript of a conversation with another world leader so the entire world can see it. Simply because they want to impeach him. He has to continue time and time again. How many millions of dollars did we go through with the Mueller report? This speaker that claims the president violated also nominated.
Side note, the Mueller report actually made money, so, like, you know, this whole Mueller report cost so much money or whatever, that's bullshit. We basically were able to get a bunch of assets that were seized from numerous people who got caught up in that bullshit. So, for those people who, I mean, they're still repeating that same fucking lie that the Mueller report cost taxpayers all this money and all this fucking time. No, we made that money back off of numerous people, so kiss my ass.
Nominated Adam Schiff, the congressman of our Intel committee, that is a gathering for our national security. This same individual, Congressman Adam Schiff, who had lied to the American public for the last 2 years, who looked into a camera and said he had proof beyond circumstantial evidence. Well, you know what? We spent millions of dollars, more than a year. We went around the world from our very best people from the FBI and others, and they found that was a lie. But he's still sitting at the helm of a chairmanship dealing with the national security. And at the same time the speaker sits there, she listened to a vice president, in his own words, say that yes, he did hold up money to Ukraine unless they would fire a prosecutor that worked for Ukraine, that was looking after his son's activities. Not one word about that. No, I think what the speaker did was a dark day, not only for this institution, but for the rule of law, and she put this country in harm's way when it comes to national security and our view around the world. At the exact same time, the leader of our country is sitting in the UN meeting with other world leaders, a challenge with Iran, a challenge with China, and others. And she stands...
A challenge with Iran and a challenge with China. Both that were caused by the same fucking world leader that was in there having the conversation. So I don't feel problems right now. Like, we already had a problem with China because Trump enacted these fucked up tariffs that have our farmers screwed over in so many fucking ways, and our manufacturing industries. That has nothing to do with what Pelosi did. Iran. We were in a deal with Iran, a nuclear arms deal that we pulled out of. That's basically destabilized that part of the world again and has us on the brink of fucking war. So I'm not compelled to feel guilt right now. I'm not compelled to feel a bunch of compassion right now for, you know, what Trump is going through and his struggle. Fuck his struggle.
Before that she's going to do a press conference all day long to say what's going to happen with impeachment. And she claims he violated the law with no proof, with no information, simply the fact that she does not like the outcome of the election. That questions her ability to even be speaker, in my eyes. Yes, ma'am.
2 questions. First of all, do you believe that the White House should make this transcript and the whistleblower
Sorry about the buffering.
public? And secondly,
They shouldn't have to, but they are.
But secondly, do you think that the White House would have done so had the speaker not taken the action she did yesterday?
First of all, naming any president, should they have to release the transcripts of every conversation they have with another world leader? The answer should be no. But this president, based upon what this majority party has done, lying to the American public on what they would work on, you're sitting before us today where America could be stronger this month. Not only our GDP, but more than 160,000 people at the lowest level would have a job. But you know what? We're not going to pass USMCA. We've got a crisis on the border. We got a challenge when it comes to technology. Europe is acting, but is America. All that falls under the Judiciary Committee, but Nadler made a promise to his conference that he'd impeach this president. We had an IG report that looked at the DOJ. In any normal Congress, they would bring that Inspector General before that committee that has jurisdiction to see what is going on. But no, we don't have time for that. The only thing they have time for is try to change the course of the 2016 election. But you know what this president has done? He's gone beyond what any president has done before. He is now putting forth the transcript so everybody in the world can read each word that he said to another world leader. And it changes a whole different standard for us.
And it's also redacted too, so it's not like you're reading everything, but even what was released was damning. So, with what was redacted, this is the main reason why that's content and context come down. I mean, it all comes down to content and context. I can see. I mean, if you get a message, saying from your doctor saying, just some random numbers, you don't understand, does this mean I'm going to have a heart attack? Is this my blood pressure? Is this an EKG? I understand. I have this, document in front of me that's got some random numbers on it, but it doesn't let me know anything about, what it's related to. That's why we need the whistleblower report. Because even though we hear this dialogue and we see what's going on and it looks pretty fucking bad from what we've already seen, we understand in the whistleblower's report that this could be framed against this other information that we didn't know anything about. Which is why it's so disconcerting to me that you're going to release the transcript of the call, but you're not going to release the whistleblower report. That stuff still needs to be gone. And not only that, not only are you going to not release the whistleblower report, you're going to not release that report and you're going to talk shit about the whistleblower. Oh, he was partisan. This random person who, we obviously don't know anything about. He's definitely partisan. And he definitely has a history of not liking Trump or whatever. What the fuck? That doesn't matter. I didn't want to. What are you going to tell me next? His shoe size? What he where he likes to eat? I don't give a fuck. I want to see the report. Let me make the determination. I don't need to know anything about the person behind that report necessarily. Let me see the report. If I see something in there that's unacceptable, then I'll go and look at that veracity. And so all I'm searching for is the truth. You all want me to fucking kill the messenger before the messengers even come to give me the fucking message. Why is that? Why are we not asking that? Why are you not concerned about that if you're supporting this president? Why is that so important to you to go ahead and basically slander somebody that we have not seen, that we don't know the background of officially, that has not presented a nary a word about what's going on with this presidency? Why are we doing that? Because that's what has to happen in order for us to begin to debunk whatever comes out his mouth or her mouth whenever they finally show their face and testify before Congress. So that's what's going on right now. You have the spin machine in full effect, debunking this whistleblower, basically saying that we're making much ado about nothing and we're coming to conclusions before conclusions can be made. Whenever no conclusions have been made. The impeachment is basically, here's what we're going to do. We have an allegation of a serious crime being committed. And because we have the allegation, we're going to bring that forward and we're going to investigate that allegation and then we're going to submit articles to the Senate. Just coming forward and beginning that process of investigating that allegation is the impeachment. We've impeached them. All right? That's why I'm counting that chicken before it's hatched, because basically that's what's going on. We have over 200 members in the House of Representatives, that's the majority, who are going to be able to say, yeah, we're going to do this. All right? So that's going to happen. So barring killing, a bunch of members of the House or somebody, them dropping dead between now and whenever the actual articles are submitted, that's what's going to happen. Everybody's got this consensus right now, and Trump's been lying his ass off since fucking day one, and we've had enough of it. That's basically what's going on. And so we have enough data behind this one call, and we have him dead to rights to be able to say, we're going to investigate this. Let's go in and look at impeachment, because we only got about 10 minutes left. All right? So I do want to pull up here how the impeachment process plays out, right? So the Democrats here, currently control the House, all right? So 6 House committees are expected to continue investigating President Trump on impeachable offenses and to send their strongest cases, plural, to the Judiciary Committee. cases. Not one time, not one case, multiple cases. So what's going to happen right now, where Pelosi was basically holding back and saying, there's not enough there, there's not enough there. What we have done is we have built critical mass. We pull this rubber band all the way back with this one slingshot, and once we let that rock go, we got a bunch of other rocks back here. All right? So we've gone through everything. We've basically petitioned the president and his council and everybody else to come forward, talk to us. Let's get to the bottom of what's going on with the Mueller report. Tell us about what's going on with these improprieties that we have these questions about. Nope, not gonna do it. Fuck you, Trump 2020, MAGA, kiss my ass. 2016, y'all lost, kiss my ass. Okay, all right, cool. Well, we're going to start holding inquiries. We have this report that's going on. We're going to see how, you react to the rule of law. All right? First you fire Comey. You have all this obstruction going on behind the scenes. Well, okay. We're going to let you go ahead. Go ahead, finish that report. Let's get that report out. All right? Report finally comes out. Oh, you can't see the report, but we got this nice summary of the report over here. Matt Barr wrote up. That should suffice. Here, look at this summary. No, bitch, we asked for the report. That's what we paid for. Can we see the fucking report? Okay, well, here's the report, but here's redacted. And see, just like I told you, it looks just like what Barr... No, it does not look like what Barr said. It does not look like what Barr said. You're full of shit. Now we're going to start calling people in so we can start asking them about some of the shit in this report. So can we subpoena, your personal counsel, your attorney? Can we subpoena your personal aides, that you had back in the day that you were working with, that you fired, that have left, that have gone, into the wild fascist pasture? Suddenly, now you're putting out letters and you're telling us these people can't talk. You're telling us these people can't give their story. But you have nothing to hide. That's what you keep telling us. Presidential confidentiality. Presidential, that presidential privilege, executive privilege. You can't do this. You can't talk to that person. You didn't find anything. Bitch, you wouldn't let us talk to anybody. And so then now, we're here. We're busy trying to address what's going on in regard to what's happened in regard to this phone call. Seems kind of suspect. Seems like certain things are, going on that shouldn't be, shouldn't have happened. Seems like there were offers that were made that shouldn't have occurred. We have some people who are in our intelligence committee who submitted, a report about, some impropriety, some things that are being offered that, shouldn't have been offered. And when that person tried to blow the whistle, just like Reality Winner did, just like Edward Snowden did, you had basically this information that was elevated up the chain, and before it could get to Congress, somebody that you appointed, surprise, surprise, stopped the shit. And so here we are again in a situation where we're trying to investigate something that you claim is completely clear and free, and you're stopping it again. So, gloves got to come off now. Now we got to do this impeachment thing. Now the question is, and here's what the thing is, now sure as hell hope that our government has not been compromised as much as I believe that it has been, because the thing is, I don't believe that we have an issue with money on one side of our government. It's pervasive. It's throughout our government. And we're going to see a lot of people, come forward and go down. A lot of names being named on both sides of the aisle that have basically facilitated, this stonewalling, this bullshit. I don't know who they are yet. I was worried for a minute that Pelosi was involved, that basically we were never going to see impeachment, that we were just going to talk about this shit, from, now until the end of time. But I believe now, and there's nothing saying that this isn't just a big, dog and pony show, now too. Pelosi could be going through the motions, but then when it comes time to actually do something, she could say, oh, there's not enough here, or we couldn't find this, or we couldn't find that, or whatever. That's our responsibility. That's why I'm on, Twitter and calling representatives and stuff like that. You should be too, to let these people know that we are watching. That we actually, even in our situations where we're working 2 and 3 jobs and we're trying to take care of this bill and rob Peter to pay Paul and make sure our lights aren't getting cut off and make sure that we're trying to keep, our kids, healthy, that we're busy, struggling for, health care and trying to pay doctors' bills, even in all of the forced, restriction that we have as citizens of this country, we are still paying attention. We've got to let them know that. And on top of that, too, we've also got to prepare ourselves or steel ourselves for whatever comes next. Because if it does come out that, Pelosi is compromised, that this is all bullshit, that we went through these motions, nothing was found, and Trump is okay, and basically, we're just going to have to just deal with it. We may not like the guy, but we just got to deal with it or whatever. This could be a slow, long, letting out of the air of democracy. If that's what's happening, and we're in the death throes, we deserve the truth, and we deserve to be in a place of moral. We deserve to be morally centered. We deserve to be in a place where whatever decisions we have to make in regard to addressing the destruction of our democracy, if it's too late or whatever, if we have to step up, if we have to rise up, if we have to do whatever is necessary to take our government back, we can do it with a clear conscience that we did everything we possibly could. Basically, before we get to that point. Just like you have the right being drummed up to protect our president, to do what's necessary in the face of America, and America does not look like anybody but a white Christian male in regard to control and dominance of this country, a president that is all about protecting Western values and the native culture, which was Native Americans. So I don't understand how the fuck you're talking about protecting native culture of a country that was basically, colonized and stolen and beaten and bled into submission. But a president that's talking about or espouses these white nationalist fascist values on the world stage, as he's done at the UN this past week, you have people who are advancing that, but you have to have people who are advancing a counter narrative to that. It's our country, that it represents us. There's more of us in this country than there are those people who want to basically turn it into a fascist utopia. Trump lost in 2016 by over 6 million votes. That's 6 million more people. And on top of that, he lost by more than that once you factor in the people that stayed home, who were just apathetic in regard to our electoral system. And so it's our vigilance in the breach right now that's going to help us get those individuals off the couch. That's going to help us inform other people. I've added numerous friends on Facebook just so I could do this very thing. People I don't even talk to. If I have over 100 connections with you, if we haven't said a single word to one another, we got too much in common for us not to be having this discussion. And I encourage you all to do the same. Reach out. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family members. It's 7:58. I got 2 minutes. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family members. Talk to people around you at your job. Talk to people who don't like you. Talk to people who do like you. Just talk. Have these conversations. And then see where they go. And they're going to be uncomfortable. Because we've gone so long not talking that we've devolved into this polarized place. But what has to happen first is we've got to have this impeachment process. And this impeachment process is going to be a perfect time because evidence is going to be coming out in case after case after case after case after case. And it's our responsibility to shove that shit down the throat of every denying motherfucker out there who wants to pretend that we are not in a state of crisis. Because the thing is, this thing is levels. We can talk about our government, but our government is not addressing these issues in the world. And that's why you have grown-ass men and women attacking a 16-year-old girl because we've had years of fucking propaganda that's been forced down our throats by the fossil fuel industry in order to protect their fucking interests. Because you know what? It's a bunch of money. And the money at the end of the day comes from denying climate change, comes from basically allowing this world to get more fucked up, to open up more locations for oil drilling. There was an issue with drilling in the Arctic. There was an issue with drilling in parts of Alaska. There was an issue with drilling in parts of Russia because it was too fucking cold. Drill bits would get fucked up. Fucking ships couldn't get to those places where they could get to rigs that could be drilling down, bringing up more fossil fuels, increasing the amount of shit that's being pumped into our air and our water. They couldn't get there. But lo and behold, the world got warmer. And it's getting warmer and warmer. Record storms. So the thing is, this isn't just about the fucking president, my people. It's really not. Everything that you're working for right now, everything that you're ignoring this crisis for right now because of, you got your kids and you got your vacation that you want to do in the Bahamas, and you don't have time because there's so much other stuff going on, but somehow you've made time for scandal and and whatever Kim Kardashian's doing right now, and what's going on Who's Got Talent, and you got your meal prep, and none of that shit fucking matters if you don't have a planet. It just doesn't. Your children, love them to death. I got them myself. That's the main reason why I'm here. What are you preparing them for? Because they're not going to have the same opportunities you do, for sure. They're going to be working 4 jobs for, a fascist authoritarian government that's persecuting them because they're in love with their Muslim girlfriend. And you could have stopped it now, but you didn't. 's 8 o'clock, people. I talked for an hour. Tired as fuck. It's been a long day. I appreciate you. Leave comments. Get back with me. Thank you for tuning in. Those people who are online or whatever. I'm sorry if I didn't see you. I don't get all the messages that come through. The best way to communicate and stay in contact with me is through the DLF Live page. Even though I broadcast to multiple outlets. But yeah, I love you. I love this planet. I love life. Life is a good thing. There's a lot of good things in life. Children are awesome. Sex is cool. Finding new places to eat is nice. Marvel movies are nice. Last of Us Part 2 is getting ready to come out. I love myself some video games. I just like to be able to afford them and stick around long enough and not have to be fighting World War III or Civil War II instead. That's all I'm talking about. Talk to you later, people. Bye.